I imagine myself not as blood and muscle and skin and bone, but as a source of pure strength energy.
I do sacrifice my children and I do sacrifice my family, and it's not right. I do regret that, but what do I do?
So, you know, it's about pride and being strong, but they don't see it that way.
For that one day, for that one moment, for those 3 lifts, for those 9 times that you have, those 9 attempts, you come up, you step up, and you deliver. If you don't deliver, that's on you.
You have to be an attack. You have to want to make something happen at all times when your regular life is got to be more mundane. And you don't have to do that in the gym. You can be yourself.
Powerlifting is an external view of how pissed off I really am at the world.
If all my training's gone well, the nutrition's good, you're healthy, then there's no reason why you should miss a lift while you get to the meet. So it's just confidence.
Powerlifting, in its modern form, is not as easy to define as other sports. At its core, powerlifting, like all good sports, is a metaphor for the lives of its participants. But there's no ball to kick or hit, nor a basket to put it through. The beauty and appeal of powerlifting is its simplicity. Simplicity in purpose, but complexity of form.
Let's go, girl, let's go! Come on, let's go, girl!
A lifter stands alone on a platform, or sits on a bench.
Come on! Come on!
All they need to do is move a bar full of iron from point A to point B. And for the average onlooker, it's that simple. But point A starts for some as a high school athlete, stepping their first footsteps into a gym, starting the proverbial million-mile journey. Others take that first step later in life under various circumstances, but they all end up alone on that platform, and some would argue that they will never come to the end of that journey. Because it doesn't matter if a lifter reaches a personal record, there's always more weight to be lifted. In a traditional powerlifting competition, there are 3 events: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. In each event, the lifter is allowed 3 attempts. The lifter will then take his or her heaviest successful lift in each one of the events. Those numbers will be added for a total. Awards are given out for the highest total depending on weight class, age, and gender. If a lifter can't complete 1 lift within a single event, they're disqualified from the rest of the competition. In powerlifting terms, they've just bombed out.
Ask somebody, do you know what powerlifting is? Oh, isn't that what they do over their head?
Do you know anything about powerlifting?
No.
Isn't that the same thing as the strongman things on ESPN with all the stones and everything?
Like all good things in life, to truly understand what powerlifting is, you must first understand what it was. The man who's considered the godfather of modern powerlifting is the legendary strongman, Paul Anderson.
Paul Anderson was like the man, you know. He was the man. It's kind of like, you know, if you're a baseball player now, you talk about Babe Ruth or Willie Mays or Hank Aaron or something like that. He was the man. And he's the one that really showcased the squat and the deadlift and the bench press back then.
He was like a one-man gang, and he did everything so far in advance of, well, he didn't have any competitors. He was just, even the things he did back then are still wild now. I mean, he was like, we called him the first powerlifter on the cover issue that we had a few years back, because he sort of blazed the trail.
Even though Mr. Anderson was primarily an Olympic lifter, he was also a pioneer in the squat, which is the cornerstone lift for all traditional powerlifting.
Well, of course, when it comes to power, I think Paul Anderson was the standard since 1950
50, but I seen him do 6 reps with 600 pounds in the squat, way below parallel. No shoes on, no knee wraps, and he was just one amazing guy.
Ricky Dale Crane is one of the most dominant powerlifters of the modern era. With 10 national titles, 5 world titles, and over 100 international and world records, Ricky has been involved in powerlifting in one way or another since he was a kid, and is universally recognized as one of the foremost historians of powerlifting.
Well, I grew up in the sport. I can just remember as a little kid in the 50s and the early 60s in California, and I'd go down like to the Berkeley or Oakland YMCA where there was powerlifters, bodybuilders, and Olympic lifters down there, and they were pretty basic down there. I mean, you know, you did squats and benches, and I don't think anybody really liked the deadlift back then. Bunch of them like that nowadays too, huh? But you'd see them training down there, and the bars were bent, half of them, and the plates were those real thick 45s, and half of those were kind of broken or cracked, and it was kind of really neat because I'd go down there, and I can still remember some of those guys' names. And I mean, you know, they put on an old gray pair of sweats and a t-shirt and just go crazy for 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday or something.
Before powerlifting was regulated as a 3-lift sport, it was called odd lifts.
They used to call what we did odd lifts, and it would include the curl, squat, bench, not always the deadlift, and sometimes some other odd lift. And so it never really was the same necessarily from one meet to the next.
The odd lifts sort of progressed into the power lifts, and they were called odd lifts or power lifts, or there was other names for them too. And depending on which part of the country you're in, I guess it depended on what made up the odd lifts or power lifts. They had a deadlift curl meet. And then I remembered something as I was talking to you earlier about bench, squat, and the continental clean and jerk. And I got you on that one because you didn't know what a continental clean and jerk was. And the bar, you'd lift the bar up and set it on your weightlifting belt here, and then you lift it up to a clean, and then you jerk it. So it was kind of a 3-movement deal. And we had just every combination of those, really. And so in some places in the country, you'd have more of one than the other. And then finally, they started settling down, so probably in the either late 50s or early 60s, it became powerlifting, sort of became known as just the bench, squat, and the deadlift. The AAU controlled all amateur sports in the country till the late 70s, and Congress, and I'm not sure who brought the lawsuits forward or whatever, but the antitrust laws were kind of broken up then a little bit, and so the AAU was forced to break up all of their sports. And at that point there, they just kept, I believe, something like track or gymnastics or swimming or whatever, I'm not sure exactly. But AAU, during the transition period of 78, 79, 80, along in there, they became the USPF of the AAU. And then after the complete breakup of all the sports, which was mandated by Congress in the late 70s, they became officially the USPF.
In 1981, in a small town in Ohio, Dave Waddington set up underneath a bar to squat 1,000 pounds. When the white lights came up, a new era had begun and a new standard had been set.
June 13th, 1981, Zanesville, Ohio. I knew I had to at least attempt it that day. I took 1,015, and when they weighed it out on the scales, it weighed 1,003. 3 weeks after this competition, I was going to the World's Strongest Man, and I knew that would take away from my chances of doing the 1,000 pounds, and the chance of maybe getting hurt too. But I had to take that gamble.
I'll never forget that day, and it was something special. Joe White tried it maybe 6 or 7 months before that, and didn't come close. But Dave just that day he could have done 1,050.
It had a big impact on it, and it was like breaking the barrier, I guess, like of the 900-pound squat back then to the 1,000-pound squat, and the 800-pound deadlift was a barrier. The 500 and 600-pound benches were barriers. But when that came out that he'd done it, I was like, wow.
Even though Dave's lift had been monumental, it was done at a local meet, and few people had the privilege to see it. The next time someone squatted 1,000 pounds, it would be the stuff legends are made of. In 1984, at the USPF National Championships, ironically being held in Ohio, Lee Moran would have the kind of day no lifter had ever had before him.
He walked out with, I believe it was 953, and dumped it over his head, and it knocked him unconscious. The bar hit him in the back of the head, knocked him unconscious. He bit his tongue, his nose was bleeding, They brought him to with ammonia. He came back, smoked it on a second attempt.
What he went through to do his 1,000-pound squat, it is ungodly.
I believe it was the first 1,000-pound squat done at a major meet.
And there was about 5,000 or 6,000 people out in the audience, believe it or not.
Back then, we didn't use the extra long bars. There wasn't enough bar for the weights. So they turned the collars around backwards to try to get a bite on the weights. They didn't tighten it down good enough, so when he walked back, he was shaking really bad. So when he stood up with the weight,
one of the collars came off.
And we thought, somebody's going to get seriously hurt here.
And then the weight started going, and then by the end of the commotion, he had 500 pounds on one side, 100 pounds on the other side, and it flipped it up in the air like a catapult. He's sitting there doing a balancing act.
It was such an incredible event to see him miss it in such a spectacular fashion.
And Lee got, very, very, I guess his blood pressure went way up. His nose started bleeding. It was horrible. Nobody figured he'd try it again. Everybody kind of stood up and get ready to leave. And then the MC says he's going to try it again.
Most people don't even want to climb back under a bar right then because they're going to be, really hesitant. I mean, he was just like focused.
It took 5 minutes, but Lee stepped under the weight again. This time everything was correct and the collars were tight. Even though Dave Waddington had come before him, today would be the day where everything changed.
It was amazing. He got it.
It was not a hard lift. He just came right up with it.
He came back and smoked it.
It was just, that's one of the great moments of powerlifting, and it was a honor or a privilege just to be able to be there and see what happened. It was astonishing.
Almost as famous as Lee's squat was Lee's personality. Lee was a quintessential powerlifter on and off the platform.
One Friday, we were out till about 1 o'clock in the morning, me and a couple other guys. It was 3 of us, and we were about 30, 35 beers deep, and Moran said, "Art, I want you to go in there and I want you to load up 620 pounds on the bench right off the street." I said, "You got to be kidding. You're going to hurt yourself, Lee. You're going to tear yourself up. That's crazy." No warm-ups. He says, "Go in there right now and put 620 pounds on the bar." We were legally drunk, all of us. I said, "I'm not doing it." And he says, "Go there right now." I walked in, I put it on the bar. He locked the gym door, and he basically said, "If I don't get 620 pounds, nobody's leaving this gym tonight." So obviously, I was his biggest fan that night, and whether he meant it or not, it made me move as quickly as I could, and I loaded it up. And for the life of me, he laid under here, and this is at the time where Bill Kazmaier held the bench record at 650, and he put 620 on the bar after a couple beers, a couple too many beers, and he came up, drove it up, little shaky at the top, but he racked it. This is the kind of raw power he had, and it was just, people did not do that raw back in 1982, 83. You just didn't hear it.
I made a lat pull machine that probably went to 1,400 pounds. We were training up in Iron Island, up in Alameda, and I could get probably, 3 to 5 reps with this seated lat pull. And Lee could do sets of 10s with it. We had a gentleman there, I can't remember his name. He was Mr. America, Mr. Universe, Mr. World, and he wanted to train with us. So we were doing lat pulls, and when I built this machine, I made it with a round pipe where your feet go, so you could slide into it. Well, he wanted to train. Lee looked at me, and I kind of giggled. I said, "Okay." So we said, "We'll help you down with this." We loaded up 1,200 pounds, and Lee got on one side of the bar, got in the other side. We kind of eased the guy down, and we let him go. About the third time he bounces off the machine, he told us to go to hell, and he walked out.
But to watch him as a man, is this huge man who has a particular reputation, and I would go to this man's house and watch him with his kittens and play with these cats and worry about these cats. And they were little, I forget the name of the cat, minks or something, they didn't have a tail. And he was so proud of them. And I can remember him getting emotional when one died. And it was just like, if people could see this part of Lee Moran, they would see the real part.
As Lee was making history, one man was in the beginning of a career that can only be described as dominant. Ed Coan is respected by powerlifters from every era as the best of all time.
I would not have gone anywhere near as far as I did without Ed Coan. I love the man. He is all that and a bowl of grits with cheese. He is the best powerlifter of all time. Anybody that doesn't agree can kiss my ass.
I was sitting with Ernie France. I said, Ernie, I got a kid here in 165-pound class is going to total 1,700. His name was John Topsaglu. And Eddie, Ernie said, well, that's pretty good. That guy over there is going to total about 1,900. And I saw this scrawny little kid named Ed Coan trying to make weight, looked like death warmed over, and we went out and deadlifted 790 that day. It was something special.
They started putting him in a category of being the strongest overall, where he's not a big guy. There's nobody can outlift Ed at 220s, 242s, 198s, 181s, and I think the world of his lifting ability. And I got a chance to watch him because he was a great lifter at a young age, and I think he was the best then too.
But if you were to talk to Ed, he, like all true great athletes, is humble about his accomplishments and is helpful to any and all lifters.
I like being really good at what I do because I take pride in it and everything I've done, especially to do it the right way, that I see as the right way. And it's nice to have people say, I admire you, or I started lifting because I used to read you in the magazines, and I've had the benefit of being in Muscle and Fitness and Flex and a lot of big magazines like that, so I have a little bit broader audience that have seen me. So yeah, I like it a lot, but I still lift weights and I still have to, do it like everyone else.
Ed Coan is a legend like no other. Whenever you say powerlifting, he's the guy that everybody thinks of automatically, hands down.
Pound for pound, one of the strongest guys that I've ever seen before, ever witnessed. He's one of the cornerstones of powerlifting, I would say.
He's probably the greatest male powerlifter, and it was really a pleasure to be able to see him progress from being a middleweight up to, in the 242-pound class and having such incredible success in every division. He's one of the truly greats.
Powerlifting is in no way a boys' club. Many strong women of all shapes and sizes are accepted under the weight, just like the men. In the early years of powerlifting, Bev Francis set forth a legacy of inspiration for women that is still felt today.
Bev, to be the first truly muscular female and to present to the world the muscular capacity of a female, that's the most awe-striking thing. I can't even think of words for it. What an incredible thing to do, to take that step beyond anybody else and present yourself to the world, and they're not even ready to see it. But Bev Francis, she was proud, and she looked great, and she started the ball rolling for females to be accepted by society.
Bev was a super lady. There's that one example of a phenomenal athlete. I mean, she was a track and field star in Australia. Then she came and participated in powerlifting and just blew all the records away in the 80s. Then she went on to bodybuilding, became one of the better women bodybuilders. So I mean, as an athlete, she was just phenomenal.
Bev Francis is one of the pioneers, one of the great early women lifters, and a dual sport athlete, being that she was a bodybuilder and a powerlifter. But she really broke the wave for a lot of these women that are lifting today.
I looked up to Bev my entire lifting career. She and I were very close in weight classes, and by the end of my career, I definitely had gotten up to her numbers. We never competed against one another per se in a meet, but I was always competing with her numbers. She was the one. She started powerlifting and women in powerlifting. She was a wonderful role model. This woman trains like nobody I've ever seen.
I think I was kind of lucky that I came from Australia and a little place called Geelong, that I didn't have pressures around me of people saying, well, I mean, I certainly had people saying you can't do this, but I didn't have, the fact that no one had done this before me didn't bother me. Now, I don't know whether that was because from where I was or it was just me, I just didn't give a damn, but I didn't see the limit. I didn't see why a woman shouldn't be strong. I didn't see why a woman shouldn't have strong chest and strong shoulders. At the time, I remember reading, women can have strong legs, but they are physically incapable of building upper body strength. And I looked at this and it's a bullshit, I can do it, then anyone can.
And from Bev's example, women have flourished in powerlifting to become pound for pound as strong as the men they lift alongside of. Like Becca Swanson, the first woman to ever total over 2,000 pounds.
Becca Swanson's just phenomenal. I mean, she's the best woman power lifter, period. There's a lot of pound for pound stuff, but she's strong.
You can't go without saying Becca Swanson. She's a great lifter. She's a great person. She's extremely strong, and she kind of shows what it takes for a woman to get up there and be with the men.
Becca Swanson, hands down, is the strongest, best strength sport woman that the world's ever seen, and probably that the world will ever see, ever.
Becca is amazing. It's to go from being on top of the world with the biggest total, I think, of 1521 5 years ago, to over 2,000 now. It's just unprecedented. I mean, there's nobody in her league. And squatting way over 800, benching 500, totaling 2,000. It's just miracle stuff.
I'm really proud to play the role of a feminine, muscular person. I want to be that icon that people look up to. I don't want any, false senses in any way. I just am who I am. I do what I do for a purpose that's my own and a purpose that is bigger than me, hopefully. I really like to meet and greet people. I love to take pictures, and I love to do public speaking. So I think I was meant for this role. I think I was meant to be a female icon. I want to be remembered as the strongest woman ever to walk the face of the earth.
With a sport that is as deeply rooted in individual achievement as powerlifting is, most outsiders might think that lifters would beat each other's throats all the time, and power meets should be a hostile environment of extreme competition and aggression. But nothing could be further from the truth. All powerlifters understand that from the newest novice in the sport to the most elite world champion, you have caught the iron bug.
Many people that start the sport, they get what is called the iron bug. And you get bit by the iron bug, you're in it for life. And that's how I have. I was bit by the iron bug early, and it's my life. It's what I do. I live and breathe powerlifting.
The people who decide to take up powerlifting come from all walks of life.
Powerlifting is a sport for everybody, and it isn't just the biggest and strongest.
I'm a maintenance worker here at Sandusky High School.
Athletic director, real estate developer.
My job is reading utility meters.
I cook food for a living.
Project manager. I work at an agricultural bank.
I serve subpoenas and pick up records.
I own a commercial printing company.
I'm a sports performance coach at the University of Buffalo.
I own a gym and I do a lot of personal training.
I worked in metal and construction all my life.
Anybody can powerlift. My 12-year-old son powerlifts. There's women out here powerlifting there's men that pick it up when they're 50 years old and do it for 20 years. I mean, anybody can do it, and that's a beautiful thing about the sport.
It is an equal opportunity activity, and you just look at the contest results and you'll see it. There's people from every walk of life and every category you can imagine having fun with it.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Throughout the world, we're all brothers, and we all get along and we support each other. When that person's on stage, everybody here is to support that one person.
It's a great sport. It's very intense, and on any level, you have that wealthy lawyer who, for some reason, wants to do a powerlifting meet, and then you've got the one that is locked in the box, except for meet day, and you let them out together, and they can get along. Whereas if you were out on the street, the one out of the box probably would eat the lawyer.
Sports that are not in the mainstream tend to attract athletes who reflect the alternative sensibility of that sport.
It requires almost a madman mentality, single-minded madness.
I just started thinking everyone around me hates me, and it's like ready to get in a fight or something. I'm just and the bar is the enemy, and I'm gonna attack it.
I try to stay calm because I get out of hand. I can't act right most of the time, so when I'm there, I just try to stay focused on what I do.
I'm very, 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 very intense on the platform, and I think that people wouldn't guess it because I'm always so happy and smiley, and everybody says how nice I am. And the minute I walk up to that bar, I'm just violent. My track coach in high school used to call me Violence because I don't know where it comes from, but I think that's why I'm so happy and nice in everyday life, because I let it all out on the bar.
I would just scream out, strong, strong, I know, as loud as I could. And that was all I was. To me, that was all I was. I was strong.
At one point in my career, the weight was an enemy, and I had to fight it, and it was like, it was a confrontation. And then that stopped working for me. And then I became friends with the weight. And then I could lift the weight and I were going together. We were going to beat anybody else. We were going to beat the numbers.
Everyone's different. You know, myself, I'm a little more calm and reserved until right when I have to lift.
I was kind of laid back and easygoing. Inside me, I was ready.
It's really not a matter of intensity. It's a matter of acceptance and focus. You know, I accept the fact that there's going to be thousands of people out there watching me. It's not even an issue. I accept the fact that the rack is different than when I use it at home. It's not an issue. I accept the fact that there's lights flashing in front of me. It's not an issue. I have to take all these things and just, you know, let anything happen that's going to happen and not let it bother me, you know, and just be focused and know what I need to do.
One man whose attitude and personality is almost as legendary as his lifting is six-time IPF world champion Kirk Karwoski.
Kirk Karwoski, Captain Kirk Karwoski, man, he is awesome.
In an interview with Ed Coan where he said that the craziest thing he's ever seen in powerlifting is you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, a lot of people, Eddie especially, like to say that I'm one of the wild or crazy ones.
He's, you know, I think he's part insane, part not.
I'd walk back to the squat racks. I'd throw my gym bag on the floor. It's 5:30 on Monday, or it's within a few minutes of 5:30 on Monday. And if somebody was stupid enough to be on those racks, they would get a 5 minutes, is all I would say. And if I came back in there and their shit was still on my squat rack, I would take whatever it is, pick it up, turn, toss it over the bench that was behind the squat rack and say, don't ever come back in here on a Monday again.
Oh, jeez, he's a nut, man. When he has an audience, he's, oh, man.
I'm on a mission here. Don't be in here talking about how many chicks you banged on Saturday night at that keg party while I'm in here training. I said it a million times. And if I told you twice, a 45 came flying at you. Whew. Shut up.
Kirk's a good guy. He's just a little crazy, but that's what makes him tick.
We all like to laugh. Well, I make myself laugh. I will do stupid things by myself when I'm alone and laugh.
He is just as outgoing in private as he is in, you know, here on stage.
My girlfriend she just looks at me and shakes her head sometimes, and I don't even want to know, because she looks over and I'm sitting there laughing.
1990 or 1991 in Dallas, Texas. Kirk was just coming on the scenes, and I'd started helping him back then. And we were both in the same meet at the Senior Nationals. And I took a squat of like 986, and I just missed it. I was in a 220-pound class. He was in a 275-pound class, and he tried 1,003 and missed it. So he came up to me afterwards and said, haha, I missed more than you did. That's Kirk's mentality. As long as it was heavier than me, it didn't matter whether or not he made it or not, as long as it was heavier than me. And most of the other stories I could not tell. I'd have to take the fifth.
Definitely probably the best squatter of all time.
Captain Kirk Karwoski is the greatest squatter to ever live.
Everybody is killer nice to me, and it blows my mind, all because of what I could do underneath a barbell.
Watching him squat is amazing. Watching him bench is amazing. I mean, his intensity in the sport is just awesome to watch. It's awesome to witness. He's phenomenal.
I've just always loved these people. I don't know what it is in common, because we're all very, very different, but I don't know, maybe it's holding your breath while you're squatting and it pops a few gaskets and then we all start thinking the same. I don't know what it is.
It's a brotherhood that stays, you know, and of course it's a brotherhood that stays because we recognize each other for what we are committed to.
It's like family. It's the Iron family.
Steve Dennison is a major in the U.S. Army Reserve and the chairman of the United States Powerlifting Federation, or USPF.
Steve is a really nice guy. He's been a friend of mine for a long time in powerlifting. He's a great ambassador for the sport, and I don't think there's anyone that puts his heart and soul into it like he does, because he loves it so much.
Steve is a terrific human being. He's a super hard worker, great lifter, great administrator. I think he has a chance of being one of the great overall leaders in the sport.
It's here at Steve's USPF meet that an up-and-coming lifter is already putting up massive numbers. Scot Carwright is a relative newcomer to the sport of powerlifting. Like most powerlifters, Scot is fanatical about his sport.
For me, when I go into a meet, I want a PR, I want a personal record. I don't care who's in the meet, who I'm competing against. If I don't walk away with some sort of personal record, it's a failed meet.
Being a software salesman and the father of 3 active children, Scot has to fit powerlifting into his schedule, whatever time that may be.
He's a great dad. He's really into the kids and he knows what they want, and he really sort of babies them. He still gives them their hot milk in the morning and at night.
5 in the morning, I'm doing all the work I need to do so that I can leave work early in the afternoon, so that I can go to the gym early and get home before the kids get home. If the kids have an activity after school, I will typically go work out at 5 in the morning on my own in the garage so that I can be there when they get home from school.
Not only does powerlifting afford Scot the opportunity to have a healthy and constructive hobby into his 30s and beyond, it also provides him with a positive release for his aggressions and daily frustrations.
He is really intense. He just gets very, he'll get very angry, but then it dissipates quickly too. So that's what's cool, is he might get very angry if he, about one thing, but after a few minutes he's calm again. So that's why it's sort of like doing a lift, because after the lift, it's done, then he uses his power on the lift.
I'm usually pretty pent up before I get to the gym. Yesterday on the way to the gym, I had a slight altercation in a convenience store.
Come on now, let's go!
And I think that was one of those situations where I was fired up to go to the gym.
Come on now.
Someone said something inappropriate and didn't think a guy in a tie would punch him, so I was ready to go to the gym. I got the gym, I got it out.
Fuck you.
Even though Scot is religious about his workouts and as dedicated to powerlifting as possible, he's hit a bit of a slump lately when it comes to competition. Scot has bombed out the last 2 of 3 meets. It's here in Modesto, California, where Scot will try to come out that slump.
All day. Come on. Wake up, let's go! Come on now. Right there! Right there! What?
I got my opener. Wasn't happy with how it went. I was a little unstable, and the bar didn't come up as fast as I wanted it to. I tend to be a pretty fast squatter. So then my second was 8:04. I absolutely destroyed it. It felt great. Hadn't planned on going 8:33 today, but decided to do it anyway. Once I got the bar of the rack, I felt pretty good. I went down, put my head forward, and missed it. And it's just stupid because it's doable weight, easy weight. But that's why you come here to do it. Do it next time.
As Scott gets ready for his second bench press attempt, a rare and disturbing injury occurs to his fellow lifter, Mike Womack.
He had his own spotters, and he decided he wanted his own spotters. He actually called a couple other guys that were helping him to get his shirt on and helping him with his warm-ups and stuff. And then a couple other guys, one of them was a good friend that he trains with regularly. The other guy was somebody he saw at the meet and grabbed him and wanted him to help. Well, that wasn't a good thing. So he got the lift off, came down, and started back up and got out of the groove, and the bar started coming over his face, and you could see it, just he was losing it. So the one spotter on the right side caught the bar, and the other spotter was not even there. He was totally 10 feet away. And he just walked away. I think maybe he was thinking was that the other regular spotter was going to step in, but he never coordinated that, didn't think about it. He just completely walked away. And the bar landed right on Mike's face, across his nose right here. And I was in the side chair judging, and I jumped up and I thought, oh shit, this bar is going to sink right into his head. I mean, with that much weight. And it was just a really, it was a bad moment.
It takes 30 minutes for the paramedics to arrive and transport Mike to the hospital. Luckily, he is in good spirits and is released within hours of receiving 20 stitches to the head. During the time that Mike was receiving medical attention, Scott and his fellow lifters had to stay focused on their upcoming lifts. Unfortunately for Scott, the lengthy delay combined with painful leg cramps prevented him from completing a successful bench press.
Tell me what happened. I bombed in the bench, and I can't figure out why. Sitting over there, and all the guys I came with trying to help me out, and we've analyzed it, but it was a combination of things. It wasn't my day. I wasn't strong enough today. Got plenty of. Walked up to the bench. In my first attempt, my left hamstring cramped up. Which kind of throws off your base when you're benching. And then after my first attempt, the guy following me got hurt. The meet was delayed about 30 minutes and maybe more. So I went up for my second attempt, which was literally 40 minutes or more later, and my right hamstring cramped up and I could never get a base, and it's not my day. So third attempt, same as the second, same as the first. Back to the drawing board, we'll get it done in February. But
the injury to Mike Womack, did that affect you at all mentally?
The injury to Mike Womack, this is the first time in powerlifting I've ever seen someone get carried off on a stretcher. I've seen people get hurt. I've seen people pull biceps and hamstrings and fun stuff like that, but I've never seen someone have to go off in an ambulance. So didn't affect me, it affected my wife, who promptly came over and told me, let's go home, or get your guys out to spot you.
I didn't want him to lift any more of that meat, but he did, and he had good spotters, and I think just knowing that his spotters are dependable really made me feel better. And I don't think, it did just upset me at the time, but now I like to watch his meets.
The injury to Mike didn't affect me too much, other than the weight and not being warm. I just don't think I was prepared for the second attempt, but no excuses. This is why we lift in a meet. You can do whatever you want in the gym, it doesn't count.
So now, for the third time out of 4 meets, Scott Carwright has bombed out. The new breed of bench-only and push-pull lifters has opened powerlifting up to a fresh crowd of athletes who prefer to specialize in 1 or 2 lifts. It has also given older powerlifters who can no longer squat or deadlift the ability to continue competing. Paul Tiny Meeker, Ryan Kennelly, Mari Asp, and Gene Rizlak are some of powerlifting's most dominant benchers. When these bench-only lifters speak about their specialty, they make just as an impassioned argument for the bench-only meets as purists make for 3-lift meets.
You could be a doctor, you could be a maid. You've lifted at least once in your life, either in high school or in whatever. Everybody benches, and no matter where you go, everybody asks you, what do you bench? So why not focus on the bench?
If you bench press only, that's
what you do. If you do all 3 lifts, that's what you do, and you train accordingly.
I still think I'm a power lifter no matter what. I mean, you're still doing a powerlifting lift, so.
Currently, the strongest man to lie on a bench is Scot Mendelson. In contrast to bench-only meets, the powerlifting purists, those who lift in 3 lift meets, will tell you that you need to get a total to be a true powerlifter. The problem purists have with bench-only lifters is the fact that they don't squat. Squatting is considered the cornerstone of powerlifting. Now, if you don't squat, are you considered a powerlifter?
No, you're not a powerlifter. Powerlifting is the sport of squat, bench, and deadlift.
Powerlifting denotes 3 lifts: squat, bench, and deadlift. That is a powerlifter. Now, we have specialists in the bench press, in the deadlift, and those people do a power lift.
That'd be like saying a guy who's a punter in football is a football player. Okay, using that analogy. Or a designated hitter is really a baseball player. They're specialized.
There's just something about getting underneath the bar and feeling the weight on your back and just and looking straight ahead. You see nothing. You see nothing but the head judge, and everything that's going through your mind is just what you've done to prepare for that. There's something about the squat that's just, it's the first lift, it's the most intense lift, I think, and there's, it's just, it's amazing. It's just you and the bar, and every time you walk underneath that bar and you feel that weight on your back, it's like a adrenaline rush.
You can't call yourself a powerlifter if you don't squat.
Why?
That's part of it. It's the bread and butter lift of powerlifting. That's the lift for strength. You know, everybody's always running around town, how much you bench? That's a universal question. Nobody even knows anything about squat.
I did a exhibition squat at the Special Olympics to kind of motivate some of those lifters, and there was a girl there who came up in a walker. She comes up in a walker. She can't walk. They take the walker away. She squats 90 pounds. And how can you ever complain about a squat after you see some little girl who can't freaking walk squat? And you go in a gym and you see these bench-only guys complaining about their knees so they can't squat. Here's a freaking girl who can't walk, who's squatting. Squat. Ah, damn. I'm getting pissed off thinking about it. What we say the other day, benching is like soccer. Everybody can do it. That's why it's popular.
I would like to see more guys go to the bench only and do it for a little while and try to bring up some of their other lifts and then move on and get into the full thing, because I don't really think you're a true power lifter unless you're doing all 3. It's like you're doing one aspect of it. You're not going through the full meet like everybody else is. But I do think it's awesome, and I do respect the bench only guys.
Those 3 lifts, I mean, you can't be weak anywhere. You can't be weak anywhere. You've got to be a fully strong human being. So the best power lifter in the world should be the strongest total person.
You got to squat. You know, the squat, I think, is the key lift for every sport. If you squat, you're going to swim faster. If you squat, you're going to jump higher. If you squat, you're going to run faster. If you squat, you're going to curl more, because it just develops overall body power. So you got to bend those legs.
Benching is great. Deadlifting is fine, but if you don't have the squats is what's the power, the strength. You can have upper body strength, great. You got a little bit of leg strength, you can pull it off the floor. A lot of times deadlift is a lot of form and how you do it, or balance it. But if you can't squat, what's the use of powerlifting?
I wouldn't tell somebody they weren't a power lifter because they would only bench press or they only benched and deadlifted. But what the hell is wrong with squatting? What, are you afraid?
Well, for all you powerlifters out there that think that being a specialist is not powerlifting, you're wrong. You're basically wrong. And the bottom line is, I mean, I don't squat and deadlift because I don't want to. And the bottom line is, get under my weight, and you tell me if it's not powerlifting. You do that, you come back to me, you tell me what you think, and I don't know, I just kind of have a feeling you're going to have a change of heart.
In the heart of Sherman Oaks, California, there's a man whose mere name can spark controversy if spoken in some circles. Scot Mendelson is not a 3-lift powerlifter. He's a part of the new breed of powerlifters, and he specializes in the bench press. The reason Scot Mendelson, better known as Mendy, is such a controversial figure in powerlifting is because Scot is very opinionated and not afraid to speak his mind.
Once you're under that number, it don't matter what you look like.
You find one woman that says, oh, her husband is just not a hassle at all and just a pleasure to be around all day long, and you have found a woman that's lying. You know, the 3-lift guys, which I have the utmost respect for, you know, I think that they get a little pissed off because, you know, the bottom line is nobody, when they say, hey, how much do you lift? They're not talking about how much you squat or how much you deadlift. They're asking how much you bench. I mean, it is the universal lift. It is the lift for manhood, you know? And, you know, we get a lot of recognition, you know. I always play around with a lot of them and I tell them, hey, look, I do a third of the work you do and I get more recognition. Why should I do a full meet? Ed Coan's a great man. He, you know, he's a very successful lifter. And, you know, I would only hope that I could be looked at as he is. You know, except I think I'm a little better looking than Eddie. You know, it's kind of weird. I can see somebody get hit by a truck right in front of me and it's no big deal, but a good episode of Chips and I'm crying. You know what I mean? I can't help it. I'm just emotional that way. It's just part of me, you know? I don't have any shame crying. If it's sad, I'll cry, you know? Don't you laugh at me.
I mean, he's kind of one of those guys, you either love him or hate him, you know, so, but I mean, he's got a great following. A lot of people love him, so, but if you don't like his opinion, then I guess that's how you would not like Scot.
I never really put much thought into whether or not it bothered me if people looked at me as a bad guy or a good guy. You know, I'm an athlete and, you know, I'm there to win. You know, you can't make everybody happy. You just can't in anything. The bottom line is at least they talk about me. I'm on the grid. You know, bad publicity or good publicity, publicity is publicity. And, you know, if they don't like me, that's life. But you know what? They're going to like my number.
Despite people's perceptions of Mendy, he is in fact a very giving lifter who tries to give back to powerlifting as much as he can.
Set on a phenom, you got to play with it.
Come on, BJ, keep it tight, baby. Hold your breath the whole lift. Sit down and do it.
Mendy and his wife Marcel also own a gym in Sherman Oaks, California, called Fitness Individualized Training, or FIT. The husband and wife team are some of the most successful trainers in the Los Angeles area.
Training with me is a little bit different than strength training alone. You know, I teach fighting. You know, I bodybuild, obviously strength training. It's a full encompass program at FIT, which actually was my wife's idea.
Marcel and the kids must all be as dedicated to Mendy's lifting as he is, or Mendy to be a success. What does it take to fuel the machine that is Scot Mendelson?
You don't even want to know. Costco is our family friend. We buy, I say, oh my gosh, I buy so much food. I spend maybe $500 a week just on food for him, just on meat, and pasta is a big staple in his diet. And he drinks a lot of weight gainer shake, which is good for me because, you know, there's not as much cooking involved, but it definitely takes a lot of food and juice and Gatorade, every day Gatorade. I mean, he probably drinks 10 gallons of Gatorade a day. It's a lot of food.
12,000 calories a day, 7,500 calories in weight gainer, up to 5 pounds of red meat in a day, pasta, vegetables, eggs, sometimes 40 egg whites a day. I try to take between 2 and 3 grams of protein per pound, and it's a job. It's another job. I hate it. I love eating. I love eating when I want to eat, but when you have to eat, because if you lose 3 pounds, your equipment won't work right. It's just, it's a hardcore thing. You know, when you're not hungry and you know you need to eat and you put it in your mouth and you gag and then you swallow it anyway because you know you have to. That's not fun. I've made a lot of sacrifices. You know, no vacations. Like I probably should have taken them on because, you know, I have meets.
I'd like to have a vacation. I'd like him to accomplish a vacation. That would be good. Something that's not, you know, powerlifting driven.
I can't relax and do what normal people do because I'm in a structured environment.
I like him to run, if that's possible, but...
To be the best, you have to do what it takes to be the best, you know? I don't go out, you know? I go to dinner with my wife and stuff like that, but I'm not a big club guy. I'm not a partier. I'm not, you know... I don't cheat. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't, you know... I'm boring to the average, but you know what? That's what it takes to be a champion.
Through all the hard work and sacrifice, the Mendys hold true to the one thing that matters to them most, their love for one another.
I want to thank my wife and children for everything they've done for me. It's been just a great run, man. You know, and I'm blessed. You know, I'm real happy about the way things have gone, and you know, I just wish that everybody could have the life that I have, because I'm very fortunate. You know, I've worked really hard to build up everything that I have. I came from nothing. I don't have a rich family, and you know, I worked my butt off with my wife for everything that we have. And you know, if I died right this second at this table as I spoke to you, I have nothing that I regret. And that's all I gotta say.
There are very few strength sports in the world. The two most well-known are bodybuilding and the modern strongman competitions. Ironically, the most dominant competitors in each of these sports attribute much of their success to powerlifting. If you were to walk into a gym today, you would see a division between the bodybuilders and the powerlifters.
Powerlifters respect bodybuilders who are really strong. And there are a lot of bodybuilders who are not. I mean, it's a different mindset. It's subjective versus objective. And it's amazing. We do some of the same exercises. We're in the same facility, maybe at the same time, but the objective is much different in each athlete's mind.
A regular bodybuilder, man, you know, they're like, I guess they'll be like a sports car, you know, because you use a sports car to drive around to impress everybody and stuff like that. But when you really want to do something, if you want to have a family, if you want to haul something, you go and you get a truck, you get an SUV, you get an excursion. See, that's how I feel about that. I'm the excursion, the bodybuilders, Ferraris, Corvettes, you know, those little cars like that. If they get hit, they'll damage. If you hit me, I'm not going to damage.
A lot of bodybuilders that I know look much more muscular and bigger muscularly than a lot of powerlifters, but powerlifters can lift more weight.
This pseudo-rivalry is a contemporary phenomenon. There was a time when both sides were combined in the Iron Brotherhood.
I thought it was just a wonderful camaraderie. I didn't feel a tension there at all, at least in my memory. And I liked, you know, you had the George Friends and the hammer throwers and the weight people and the Hal Connollys and the Peanuts West and Steve Marjani and all of these guys in one room at one time, including all the bodybuilders, the Zabo Kazuskis, the Joe Golds. It was just a wonder. God knows we didn't know it was the golden age, but it was.
All rivalries aside, most bodybuilders will tell you that to be a true success in their sport, powerlifting movements are essential for putting on muscle mass.
To build a strong foundation, you know, you gotta have basic heavy movements, such as the powerlifting or the deadlift, squats, and bench press is like one of the strongest, best basic exercises you can achieve, you know, for for a really strong foundation.
Well, it's important whenever you're building a physique to lay down the groundwork, to lay a foundation down. And I believe that powerlifting does this very efficiently. You know, with the basic moves, your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, you build power in all of the regions of the body, you build mass in all the regions of the body, which you can then define and sculpt later. You know, so I think that powerlifting and bodybuilding really go in tandem.
Kevin Nee is the youngest strongman competitor on the circuit today. He attributes a lot of his success to powerlifting.
In the world of strongman, you kind of need to incorporate some powerlifting into your routine. So I mean, basically, as long as I've been in strongman, I've been powerlifting too.
As you can imagine, the benefits of powerlifting reach far beyond just strength sports.
Powerlifting movements are the basis for training in just about any sport. You know, you can take powerlifting and you can use that towards football, you can use it towards baseball. It's just the basic building block of training.
I've trained boxers, basketball players, football players. It gives you a base of strength in all your any sport you're in.
Every sport that we have, from tennis to rowing to wrestling, everything that we have is based off of those lifts.
The whole thing's golf right now. So you know, you get stronger faster, you hit the ball farther. You know, it takes strokes off your game. Because they say Tiger Woods benches 350, which I say is bullshit.
It helps me in my shot put and discus, you know, having the strong legs, of course, and then being able to, you know, have the upper body strength as well.
I won the NCAAs in college in the shot put. I was a 70-foot shot putter and also played in the NFL and football, and I think that the powerlifting was pretty much everything. I mean, it helps your speed. My speed was the same at 290 as it was at 350.
Otis Amy is a professional football player. Undersized for a receiver, Otis had to rely on his quickness and strength to get him into the league. Otis attributes much of his success to powerlifting.
Even if I'm running standing straight up on a route, I get down into that squatting position when I'm breaking down to get in and out of the routes. So I'll be running, break down to the squatting position, and then explode out again. So the squat helps for anything you're doing on the football field.
People are going to be realizing, hey, you know, I'm doing powerlifting. Maybe I can't play football anymore, but I graduated or something like that, or went into a new situation, but I can still train and compete in powerlifting.
The biggest misconception about the sport of powerlifting is that it's only for elite athletes and those who can lift world-class weight. Everyone who is now at the top of the powerlifting mountain started out as a novice lifter and had to feel just as awkward and doubtful as anyone does walking into a gym for the first time.
I was never afraid walking into like a regular little gym, and I mean like a spa in those days. We're talking 70s. But when my husband and I went to Power Unlimited, which was Ron Morris's gym in Santa Cruz, and we went and talked to him. We'd made an appointment. We were so excited. And he said, well, go on upstairs and just get dressed. He had the upstairs, had this bathroom. And then you look down, everything is wrought iron. I mean, it's just massive equipment. So we both go up and change into our sweats and come out. And neither one of us wanted to go downstairs. We were like, oh no, we cannot go down. There's monsters down there. But lo and behold, we became the monsters.
It's a totally different world when you walk into the gym the first time to do powerlifting. You don't anticipate even remotely trying some of the weight that you're going to be trying to pick up. You don't walk in thinking I'm going to be squatting 400 or 500 pounds when you're just an average guy. And then you go in and you do it, and it's like after you've done it, your mindset knows you can do it, and you just get more confident and you want to push for more each time. It's completely scary the first times because you just look at numbers and most people's mind think big numbers, I can't do it. Well, you go and you prove yourself wrong, and the next day is a good day.
The truth of the matter is, every man or woman who has any desire to be healthy or increase their strength can be a powerlifter.
The core powerlifters in the, you know, as far as like on a worldwide level, are seemingly normal people. Do you know what I mean? That you might not even look at and just think they're like a regular old Joe, but they use powerlifting to keep the competitive spirit alive. You know, it's a timeless sport. You know, people play golf from the time they start until they're dead practically. Powerlifting can be the same way. Most people know that, but there are guys that are 60, 70, 80 that use this sport to stay young and mentally in their mind. You know, it just keeps them going.
I think I got interested in powerlifting because it was individually based.
I started, probably in college. I was a high school football player. Did a little bench stuff, but not really strength sports. And then at the Naval Academy, which I went to school, they had actually powerlifting club, And during my senior year, that's the first time I got exposed to you call strength training, and I just took a very good liking to it.
Back in high school, you know, I was about 135 back then, and I was squatting 285 with just a belt, no wraps, no nothing else, and most of the guys couldn't do that, and I was benching about 165. And our football coach walked in and he saw one plate on each side, and all of us, you know, was going to give the guy a bad time until he turned around and walked to see that there was a female on the bench. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm real goal-oriented, so that kind of sparked me to keep going.
The first time I ever heard of powerlifting was from my old computer teacher. He was back in junior high school, and he was a powerlifting coach. And in my city, we didn't have no powerlifting. I never heard of it before. And then a few years later, my strength and conditioning coach, he brought it back up again. So I said, I got to jump on it. Let's try it.
I really don't know what originally brought me to powerlifting, because I've always been kind of strong. From gymnastics to soccer to lacrosse, I've been weightlifting since I was 5. I've been able to pull my body weight or lift my body weight in some form, whether rebounding, chin-ups, handstand push-ups, that kind of stuff, ever since I can remember.
I started powerlifting when I was 17. I started gymnastics when I was 5, and I quit when I was 17 because of injuries. And I had this guy in my class saying, like, "Hey, Mara, you can't just sit on your ass and get fat. You got to come to the gym." So he brought me to the gym, and 3 months later, I won the junior nationals in powerlifting in Norway.
I actually went to this small town to work as a student. I didn't have anything to do, so I joined the local gym. And that's when I found out I really didn't know what I was doing. And so when I got back to my hometown, I looked in the phone book for a hardcore gym, and that's the day I met Rick, who's my coach and my boyfriend.
I'm like a little fat kid in like the 3rd grade, and I started asking for barbells, you know, and they're like, "You're nuts." Finally at 12, my grandmother hooked me up with a set of barbells. My mom was pissed. I opened them at Christmas. I knew what they were. Rest of my presents, this was like a Saturday, rest of my presents out to Wednesday.
Elite lifters are not afraid to share their advice with novice lifters because they know what it's like to be new to the sport.
Just train your butt off, make sure your nutrition is good, and technique. Technique.
Technique is the number one thing that lifters need to know first before they're developing their strength levels. They need to develop their motor skills, and more times than not in the sport of powerlifting, the reason why lifters fail their lifts is because they've not developed these motor skills.
The form and the technique are not there just for you to get the weight and not just for you not to get hurt, but it's also to develop the proper muscle and the proper symmetry.
Find somebody who has a clue on what the sport's about and can train you right. It's hard finding people that can train in powerlifting. Don't go to your football coaches or your wrestling coaches because they don't know what powerlifting's about. Go out and find somebody, go to a couple of meets, and you can look around and you can see somebody who knows what they're doing and talk to them. Talk to the guys at meets, and they'll probably let you know somebody in your area that has a clue, and do it that way. So do it right.
Learn from everybody. For a beginner lifter, learn from anybody and everybody. There's so many different ways to train now. There's so many people getting stronger off of different programs, different methodologies, and all I can say is just learn, take every little piece of information and try and find what works for you.
Start off light. Don't try and find out how much you can do. It's not time. You need to put some time in before you go heavy. A lot of reps, high rep sets, be careful. Always have a spotter. Always use your collars. I know that sounds pathetic, but it's true. And if you can, get a good training partner, keep them. And the very most ultimate thing, if you can pull it off, videotape your workouts and watch what you're doing. Somebody else can tell you what you're doing wrong, but as soon as you see it, you can change it.
At first glance, outsiders to the sport might think that to be a success in powerlifting, a lifter needs to be born big and naturally a strong person. But powerlifters come in all shapes and sizes.
I'm a 198 lifter, and you have all the way from 132s, even 114 pound weight classes to super heavyweight. So anyone can do it.
It's not for big guys. It's not for just the real small guys. It's not for just the real muscular guys, the real lean guys. Anyone can do it, and everyone could gain from it because you're gonna put on muscle, and everyone, to be healthier, you need more muscle, especially nowadays with the obese society we seem to have. Everyone wanting to put on muscle just burns the fat off, and powerlifting is a heavy resource for doing that.
I mean, it doesn't have to be for the big guys you see in the magazines. Anybody can get on that platform and lift. Because when you're on the platform, it's you and the bar. I mean, you do compete against other people, but you're also competing against yourself. You know, so it is for everybody. If anybody that likes lifting and likes, you know, pushing themselves past the limits.
Has nothing to do with how big you are or male or female. It has to do with what you want and how you train. So it has to do with strength.
Karen Matthews and her husband Steve own 2 successful businesses in the small Northern California town of Grass Valley. Karen is no different than millions of other women, balancing between her work and her family. But in her desire to be fit, and with a little encouragement from a local powerlifting coach, Karen started training for powerlifting.
I was introduced to powerlifting just a few weeks ago when our trainer came in, saw my tree trunk thighs and said, "Girl, you got to be a squatter."
It's been a short amount of time, but the 5'1", 148-pound mother of 2 has been bit hard by the iron bug and has gone from a woman who wanted to get fit and maybe set a few records to now earning 14 state records and 1 American record in the USPF. Chris Clements is a 27-year-old janitor who has been powerlifting for just over a year.
Easy. 3, good grip. 4, 1 more. Outstanding.
Chris was born with cerebral palsy, but he does not allow his condition to affect his training.
It's in your head. I mean, you can let it limit you if you want, but I don't. I'll do as good as the next guy. I just got to train a little bit harder. When I go into power lift, it's everything to me. When I train, that's all there is.
Alright, come on. There we go. Oh, you gotta want this one.
So when I'm in that gym,
Pick 2, but go 1 at a time.
I don't think anything that's going on in my life, anything, I don't think of tomorrow, I don't think of an hour from then. It's just train.
Tell it right there. Tell it right there.
Train hard. When I leave the gym, I can think of other stuff.
Look out! All right, up. All right, yeah. Come on. Down in there. Here we
Another
go.
one more.
I got you, baby. Here we go.
One more.
Boy, come on. Yeah, right in there. Right in there.
I'm going to squat 1,000 pounds before I die.
This is Nikki Ianson. Nikki is a great up-and-coming lifter in the USPF. Nikki has always been the big and strong one in her family, so powerlifting was a natural fit. The thing that makes Nikki's story so unique is the fact that she can lift a weight at all. A few years ago, when traveling with 2 other friends, Nikki was in a horrific car crash.
We were heading to my aunt's, and apparently what was said is my girlfriend at the time that was driving veered off into the other lane, and we came in head on with a big moving truck. And needless to say, I only come out with a broken back and head injury, and she didn't pull through.
Even though Nikki lifts for the mere fact that she can, she does own multiple records for her age and weight class.
I was told that I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't do that. And it's like, no, I got to do it. I got to do it.
Scott Carwright has always been a competitive athlete. He was a college football player and a professional rugby player overseas. But now Scott has other hobbies that occupy his time. Drop. Do you want to lift weights when you get older?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just been great having that pool. He just loves to hang out at the pool with the kids, with the family.
Scott's passion of being a great powerlifter has only become an obsession with his recent setbacks. In the past, he's been splitting time between training in his garage and the large commercial gyms.
Training in the garage for me is a benefit. I don't have anybody to spot me, so I can never do really heavy stuff. But I can do what I want. I don't have to worry whether or not music's loud or not. I don't have to worry about whether I make a chalk mess. It's my garage. If I bend the bar, it's my bar. And, you know, my wife bought me a bar. It was, you know, $400 bar, and second time I used it, I bent it. No one to get mad at, no one to blame. It was me. So it's my garage. Doesn't matter.
In the wake of bombing out of Modesto, Scott has decided to rededicate himself and find a gym and training partners that understand his hardcore attitude.
Some of my training partners are Woodland, are Parker Flagg, better known as P-Bear, because I think he's 19 years old. Complains about it being injured a lot. He's too young to be injured. But he's a very strong kid, very dedicated. Always there. He never misses a session. Jim McDonald, Cubby Bear. Jim's somewhere in his 40s. Dedicated guy. Always count on him. He's the all-purpose lifter for us. He'll run the monolift. He lifts with us. He films you if you need some help. Because a lot of times when you're lifting, you want to get a video of yourself to know whether you're getting depth and so on. Between Cubby Bear and P Bear, you can count on them to be there at every training session. Mark Bell.
Let's go, Mark.
Obviously my training partner. I think he has put 200 pounds on my total. I think just training, he put the environment together to let that happen.
Scott and his partners call themselves Team Super Training. They train here at Body Construction Zone in Woodland, California. Mark Bell is not only Scott's workout partner, but he's also been training Scott in the West Side Method, developed by the legendary Louis Simmons.
I always like to compare it to the Matrix. People say, well, what is the West Side Method? And I always tell them, well, West Side isn't even West Side. It's not what you think about it. It's not what you think, and it's not what you read. It's an interpretation of how you can get yourself stronger. It's finding your weak spots and making them stronger.
Scott has become a willing pupil of the West Side Method, but he still holds firm to his sensibility and hardcore attitude that has been affectionately dubbed the Carwright Method.
I don't mind maxing out 5 days a week if that's what I got to do.
Let's go now.
Fortunate for me, I haven't really been injured yet, but most people I train with, it kind of ticks them off that I don't like going very light.
Come on, get down. Keep your back arched. Come on.
And they do, and I just don't see the benefit of doing sets of 10 with 100 pounds.
Sometimes his guts are a little bit stronger than his brains.
Try 8. I don't think you should go up anymore. You don't need it, dude. I'll come back later, dude.
he'll tend to go a little, not too heavy. Nothing's ever too heavy for the guy, but everything's needs to be real. He needs to keep his technique.
You're gonna hit over 850 in this meet, regardless of what you put now.
Another aspect of Scott's training that needs work is his diet. To be an effective lifter, he must take in more protein than the average athlete.
It's hard to schedule your meals. It's hard to eat right. Granted, I'm a heavy guy, but I don't eat the way a lot of powerlifters do. I can't keep up the protein intake. It's hard for me given my schedule. So a good example of that is the other day, I was on my way to an appointment and I was in a restaurant downtown. It was 9 in the morning. Everybody's in line ordering lattes and caramel macchiatos and all this, and I get to the front of the line and ask for a large egg salad sandwich and a water, and of course everybody kind of look at the fat guy eating a big sandwich, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
I know he needs a lot of protein, and I think he gets that through his drinks. But I don't just serve him steaks every day. And maybe he'd like it, and I think that's the problem.
I'm continually bugging my wife about there's no meat in the house. I need dead animals. I need to eat some dead animal, but pasta, rice, chicken. No, I need red meat.
Scott has 4 months from the USPF meet in Modesto until his next meet in Pasadena, California, at the California Fit Expo. Scott's first goal will be to put everything together well enough to finish the meet. But beyond that, he wants to total 2,204 pounds. Mendy stands 6'1" and 350 pounds. But unlike other men that size, Mendy sports a body fat count of 11%. Mendy was born to be a powerlifter, but he knew from day one that he was going to be a bencher.
Stick your belly up. Nice, easy. Okay, good. Back. Good. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Why should I do a full meet? I respect the squat and the deadlift. I just have no desire to do it. I can't anymore because of my leg, but I've never had a desire to compete in it.
Was there a time when you first started that you did?
Nope. Always benched. I was a bodybuilder before I powerlifted. And, I've trained my legs my whole life. I squatted 1,000 pounds without gear, just wraps and a belt. but not all the way down like a competitive powerlifting squat. You know, at about parallel, maybe a little before. Still felt like a condominium was on my back.
It's this single lift mentality that drives Mendy to be the best at what he does. Only one man stands in Mendy's way to claim his crown as the best bencher ever. Gene Rizlak is the first man to ever bench over 1,000 pounds.
I'm the only guy that ever squatted and benched 1,000. It's the equivalent of basically the ass end of a car.
Mendy and Gene have taken their rivalry to a level that powerlifting has never seen before.
Everybody likes a good rivalry. I think that, you know, excitement is what it's all about.
I don't do anything unless I love it. You know, I can't go into something half-assed. And right now, benching gets my juices going like nothing else.
Gene, there's something different about Gene because Gene, you know, I'm not friends with Gene.
I think it's pretty much one-sided.
I truly believe I am the best in the world.
You can't compare him to me.
People that think I'm the best bencher of all time, I think they're right.
It's apples and oranges. I do things according to the rules. He does it the way he does it.
Scot Mendelson
That's the way it
is the best bencher to ever live on the planet Earth.
That's the way it is. It's basically, he wants to be me.
Gene, no disrespect, but sorry, bro, you're mine.
In Pasadena at the Fit Expo, Mendy will attempt to distinguish himself as the greatest bencher of all time by putting up 1,008 pounds. To train for this kind of lift is not like normal power training. By the sheer nature of the lift and the weight he trains with, Mendy puts himself in physical danger every workout.
He's been benching over 1,000 every week, so, and then he's pretty burnt out at the end of the day. I mean, he's probably gets a concussion every time he benches over 1,000.
1, 2.
Belly up. Stick your belly up. Stick your belly up.
Nice, easy. Okay, good. Back.
Not only is Mendy lifting with dangerous amounts of weight, but he's also training with an ankle injury that may leave him with an amputated foot.
November 22nd of 2004, I was on a freeway in California, the 118 freeway, and I don't know if you noticed, but I have to wear a boot every day, and then I have titanium and cadaver ligaments and everything else, but I was on the freeway and I switched into the fast lane at nighttime, and as I went into the fast lane, the car in front of me jerked out of the way and there was a lady stopped with no lights on, and I hit her at 70 plus. 7 other cars hit me, and I had a company van, an Astro van for the gym, and the motor from my van came in, and there's a area on your ankle called your talus, which is the bump on your ankle. That and my entire heel snapped off my foot, and my tibia, which is one of the bones in the calf area, snapped as well. So it's been a year and a half with 5 surgeries, and you know, it was a real hard thing to deal with. You know, I almost died. I was in intensive care for 2 weeks, and it changed my life. You know, it taught me what priorities were, and you know, everything happens for a reason. But at this point, you know, it's been a real hard road back. I still can't really walk. One of the few things I can do is bench.
Mendy has dedicated his life and the lives of his family to building up his body to this point. Mendy's goal is to be the strongest man of all time, and it will be at the Fit Expo where he will attempt to take his rightful place at the top of powerlifting. For many athletes, representing your country on the largest world stage is the pinnacle of any sport. Unfortunately, powerlifting is not yet an Olympic sport, and therefore powerlifters are not able to fulfill that dream.
The only disappointment I see with powerlifting is that I know in my lifetime I may never walk away with an Olympic gold, you know? And that just seems to be the most prestigious award there is.
So I've done everything. You know, not that I didn't love what was going on, but what more is there that I want? And it was one of it was the Olympics thing.
And you were 100%, and they said, "We want you to lift in the Olympics, but you got to squat and deadlift." Would you do it?
Yes. For the Olympics, I would squat and deadlift.
Of course, everybody would like to see powerlifting in the Olympics. It's universal appeal. Everybody would love to see that.
Powerlifting has got to be an Olympic sport because it's physical. You're dealing with weight. It's strength. It's everything that people want to see. People want to see the strongest men and women on earth.
One of the oldest federations, the International Powerlifting Federation, or IPF, has the IPF Worlds, which is the current powerlifting equivalent of Olympic competition. In 2005, the IPF Worlds were held in Miami, Florida. It gave American spectators a chance to see that the camaraderie of powerlifting and the Iron Brotherhood crosses all international lines.
Us American lifters come over and we lift in a European country or an Asian country. Everywhere I've been, we've been fairly well liked. I haven't been in a place that where people have been against us at all.
Yeah, in Denmark, American is a strong country like Russia and Ukraine, so they like the Americans. Yeah.
I wish this country would recognize my achievement and other my contemporaries' achievements. I'm real huge in Europe, but in America, nobody knows who I am, and I can't rub two nickels together.
You know, especially when I started out, the Americans were the greatest. That's those were our idols, and you look up to anyone. That's just because you've read about the Americans. Like we started out with Cass Meyer, and then Mike Bridges, and then Ed Coan, and then so I think that all our stars. All the stars, all the ones that we looked up to and learned from were all Americans.
まあやっぱりパワーリフティングといえばアメリカっていうイメージがあるんで、IPF じゃない他の団体でも強い選手がいて、すごくそういう選手にはこう憧れます。
Madote is everything I aspire to be. I want to be built just like him. I want to bench like him. I want calves like him. I want to squat like him.
He's a veteran of IPF competition and in both the powerlifting and the bench press world, and he's just about as thick a human being as you can imagine, and doesn't do him much good in the deadlift, but he can sure squat and bench, and one of the national treasures of the Japanese team, obviously.
That Russian dude's a freak. His hands are like this. How do you get your shoulders like that squatting? On the other side of the spectrum is the World Powerlifting Organization. The WPO takes the traditional format of a meet and puts an entertaining slant on it. The WPO gives out cash prizes for its winners, making it a professional powerlifting organization. Kieran Kidder is the head of the WPO.
The card girls, everyone likes to look at hot chicks, who doesn't?
And that's just the music, the lifters pick the music. Just the sport has a draggy nature to it because of the in-between and having to load, and it's not like non-stop action, like other sports that more people are familiar with. So I knew it needed to have more entertainment value.
Even though lifters are rewarded with money for winning in the WPO, it's not enough money for a person to make a living as a powerlifter. That's something Karen Kidder and the WPO want to change.
Maybe someday the guy's going to be winning 50 grand here instead of 5. And it's getting there. And the reason it hasn't happened yet is just because of the perception that people have of powerlifting. And it's just going to take somebody to make a connection with them. And no one has. And I know how to do that.
Kieran does get a lot of flack. Some people believe that Kieran and the WPO are bad for powerlifting.
I get a lot of heat because I've altered the sport. But a lot of the lifters, a lot of the other federations, they can't put their minds outside the sport, okay, and that's what I've done.
Another option for powerlifting is to capitalize on the extreme nature of the sport and work on adding a weightlifting event to the X Games.
Powerlifting X Games might work if they could get along with the potheads.
X Games could be a pretty good area for powerlifting. I'm not sure how they'd fit that in powerlifting the way we know it today. I mean, have to maybe shorten the meets up a little bit.
I think powerlifting is an X Games sport in the way that the WPO presents it. It's pure entertainment.
And when people say, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm Gene Richlack. I'm an extreme athlete." And they said, "Well, how so?" I said, "Well, I bench press." "Well, that's not extreme." I said, "Well, the weights I handle is extreme."
If they throw something like that into the X Games, that it's very possible that something like that could grow amongst the media instead of a 3-lift event to where you got to have so much coverage. They could throw a single lift event in there, wouldn't have to have so much coverage, and it would gain a lot more publicity.
Pasadena, California is the site of the annual Fit Expo, a weekend of world-class fitness competition and the chance for vendors to unveil new clothing and supplements. Steve Dennison is putting on the USPF Western USA Cup. This meet brings in some of the best USPF lifters from all over the country. Among those lifters is Scott Carwright, ready to achieve his goal of a 2,204 pound total.
Big air, arching. Squeeze it, just up. Come on now, let's go. Come on. Handle it, let's go. Set it up. Get your air. Set it up. Take your time. Big air.
Saturday night, on the main stage, the Ironman Bodybuilding Classic is held every year. But this year, when the posing is all finished, it will be Mendy's time on the main stage. Backstage, Mendy goes through his pre-lift rituals.
The show ended, the bodybuilding show, and they were setting me up. I did my warm-ups and everything, and we went out there, and I set up the bench press, and the lights on the stage, because of the bodybuilding show, they were so bright that when I got the handoff, I couldn't see the bar. I started to bring it down, and because I couldn't see, I watched the bar come down. I didn't touch, so I folded my hands forward to make the weight touch. So I got the press call, and I grabbed the bar and flipped my wrist back and slammed it up. And it was pretty satisfying, holding it at lockout for about 5 seconds. It was an interesting feeling and a relief that, you know, I'd been going after this 1,000-pound bench for 3 years, hitting it in the gym over and over and over, and killing my nervous system every time to bring myself back stronger. And to hold that weight on that platform, thinking, oh my God, I did it. I just thank God. So.
Almost as quickly as Mendy sets his record, he sets his sight on dropping weight and reclaiming his crown as the best bencher in the lower weight classes.
So I'm going to drop about 40 pounds. I'm going to go down to the 308 world record, and I'm going to make the illegitimate lift that the record's held with right now legitimate. Tiny, I'm coming for you. So be ready, because I'll be ready. Come get it.
You got it. I'm coming tomorrow, man.
As for Mendy's rivalry with Gene Rizlak, it's now finally been put to
Read
rest.
it and weep. Mendy 1K. Notice it does not say Richlack 1K. It says Mendy 1K. You know, Gene or Donald Duck I don't care who it is. It really has no concern to me. I'm going to be number one in the world. While I'm here, you will have me to reckon with. You'll have me to contend with. And you are not the focus. You know, I'm my worst enemy because I'm so hard on myself. So whether it's Gene or Anthony Clark or any of these guys that I've broken their records, the bottom line is Scot Mendelson's here to stay, and I am going to be number one.
Conventional definitions, explanations on form and purpose aside, powerlifting is a labor of love for those who choose to participate. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. The first time you grip a power bar and you feel that rush of adrenaline, and you know in your heart that no matter what happens, you're going to lift the weight. That's the moment you've been bit by the iron bug. Powerlifting can be a casual hobby or a daily obsession. But like all good things in life, you'll get out of it what you put into it.
I think that there are a great amount of sponsors that could come in. Hold on a minute, blow it. Dude, why are you walking over here? What the are you doing? I'm being filmed? This is Bo, he works with us.
I wouldn't tell somebody they weren't a power lifter because they would only bench press or they only benched and deadlifted. But what the hell is wrong with squat? What are you, afraid? I thought powerlifters were supposed to be big tough guys, you know? Strap your on, leave your at home and put a bar on your back and bend your knees. All right, look. I'll back way off of that. I mean, you said say whatever.
Oh, you can know I was laughing because it was hilarious. So we'll be able to just cut to an answer of you, and you'll be like, yeah, you know, football and powerlifting relate, you know, because of this and this and this, instead of just saying, you know, whatever. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Could I say Steve Dennison's really a bodybuilder and he doesn't know it?
Yeah.
No, I won't.
That's the other thing.
I am a closet bodybuilder. You see these abs? I'm not gonna pull these up. No, I am a little bit, you know, everybody wants to look good. I think, you know, well, not everybody. Scott's a blob, man. He's he's kind of like a little Shrek.
Scot Mendelson put up 1,008, man. That's, you just gotta have some balls getting underneath that to begin with, man. That's crazy. I give him all the props in the world, man. That's, dude, I wouldn't have the balls to get under that. No way, man. That's crazy.
When I was a kid, I had to go to the Illinois Institute of Technology at night because I had no hand-eye coordination whatsoever. I had to wear glasses and like special blinders like a horse, like a racehorse does to even bounce a ball in a straight line.
There was a joke, actually. I had done an article in the local newspaper, and I said that no men could wear tank tops in our gym unless they had biceps bigger than mine, and that was 6 years ago, and people still bring that up to this day when they walk into the gym. Can I wear a tank top? You know, it's just funny.
How big are you?
Like 17, I think. Maybe 18. I don't even know.
Believe it or not, that's it, man.
Cool.
Thank you so much, man.
No sweat.
I appreciate it, man. Leave that mic off you.
Yeah, I hope that was. I mean, well, you said you wanted plain. That was.